underlying details, which I'd have to tell you where the assessment comes from. But obviously, when we come out and give you an assessment about where negotiations stand, it's based on our conversations with the parties. And so he can make the kind of statement he made. I can make the kind of statement I made yesterday when I noted that we had made progress, because we are in conversation with the parties and we can see that we have overcome some of the obstacles to getting a resolution. But there's more to be done, and we need an agreement from the parties. But we are working to accomplish that. We want to get one done as soon as possible.
Can you put a timeline at all?
No, I can't do that.
It is our understanding that the United States has agreed to the Israeli condition that when it's struck by Hezbollah from across the border in Lebanon, that it reserves the right to go in and attack those targets. Is that correct?
I'm not going to speak to any underlying details of the agreement, which is not to either confirm or not confirm, just to say when it comes to any underlying details of this resolution that we are trying to reach, while we are still in the negotiating stages, I don't think it would be helpful for me to be talking about what the details are publicly.
Right. On the civilian harm channel that you guys were discussing and you mentioned in the letter, do you have any updates for us?
We have scheduled a meeting between senior officials here at the department and senior officials in the Israeli government in early December. It will be the first meeting of that new channel.
And that would take place here or virtually?
I'm not going to get into the details of that meeting, but it'll happen in early December.
Can you say how senior those Israeli officials and State Department officials?
Senior, as we get closer to the date and certainly on the date and after, we'll have a more specific readout of the people that were involved. But at this point, no, I don't get into it.
A couple of final things. So so we can assume that the channel is set up now, and this is going to be its first meeting. And what is your plan about this channel, given that you're saying this meeting is going to happen in December? I suspect then you're going to have maybe a month or so, or 40 days to talk to the Israelis about this. What do you intend to achieve during that very limited time?
So the purpose of this channel is to inform the ongoing work that the State Department has to do to make assessments about the use of U.S. provided weapons. That's what we want to do, as well as to gather our own information about what Israel is doing. We get questions from you about specific strikes, and we want to know the answers, both to be responsive to the media and for our own purposes. So it's to gather information about incidents that have been raised that are cause of concern or a cause of question. Now, we take all the information we gather, whether it be from public reporting by the media, whether it be from NGOs, whether it be from the government of Israel or other governments, and feed it into our processes, both our policymaking processes and the judgments that we have to make about potential violations of international humanitarian law. And we will continue to do that.
Right. So given that this channel is now set up and you will have a meeting and you intend to use the time to further your ongoing assessments, which have been ongoing for more than a year, can you commit that one of those many assessments will conclude in the end?
What do you mean that they will conclude? Do you mean by January 20th?
Yes.
So let me just step back and say that the assessments that the State Department is required to make are legal requirements, and they're not legal requirements that are attached to any one administration. That burden for the State Department continues through the end of this administration and into the following administration. So we want to get that work done as quickly as possible. But this is not a partisan exercise. It's not a political exercise by this administration. This is the serious work of government that is supposed to go on regardless of who the president is.
Final thing, sure, I understand that, but at the moment, you guys are still in charge, and I'm asking this administration, because I've asked this question many, many times. It's been over a year. You have said to us these assessments about Israel's potential IHL violations has been going on. The fact that you have this channel, does that mean your work on that front is going to speed up or not?
So our work is already moving as quickly as we can possibly make it move, but they are difficult assessments that we have to make that require both gathering facts and making, in some cases, complicated judgments. And so I have never been able to put a timetable on that work because we have a number of different incidents that we are looking at. But we are committed to working through that process and having an answer as quickly as possible.
Can I follow up? Has there been any conclusion to the 500 CHURG incidences that you were looking at?
So let me just first say that we have never confirmed an exact number. I know that number has been reported. But when it comes to incidents that we have looked at, there have been some incidents, I think I've spoken to this before, there have been some incidents that go through the process that you can pretty quickly take out of the process early on, right? It's a typical fact-finding case when you get presented a potentially concerning incident and you find out that no, there's actually a justification for that incident, or there wasn't the harm that was reported, and you can take those out of the process. Then there are the more difficult ones, and those take time, and those are ongoing. I don't have a conclusion to report out yet.
And none of those have been concluded, though.
So what my point is, there are some that no, they have not. There are some that have been concluded that were in the earlier stage, but no with respect to that.
And to this new channel that is meeting in December, can you give us a sense of what particular incidents would rise to that channel versus the existing channels? How much overlap are we going to see here?
I don't want to speak to it publicly, but there are a number of incidents. You've heard me speak to a number of incidents from this podium. You've heard the Secretary speak to them. We have raised some of them in the National Security Memo 20 report that we issued back in April. There are a number of incidents that we have had questions about and we have had concerns about. Without speaking to any one of those, we certainly have a list of incidents to go through in that channel, which is not to say that we haven't sought answers through existing channels.